My nephew froze at church, but when the pastor offered a redo, his dad said no and shut it down. I'm writing about my 12-year-old nephew and a call he made to me after church. Every few months, his church does Youth Sunday. The youth pastor preaches to the adults. This time on June 15th, that someone was supposed to be my nephew on piano. He isn't in the youth band, but he's taken lessons for years. He's played small recitals, never a full adult service with 2 packed rooms. When it was time, he sat on the bench, froze, and started crying. A leader came over, whispered to him, and tried to help him breathe. She counted with him. 1, 2, 3. He kept shaking and couldn't press a single key. He wiped his eyes with his sleeve. The leader walked him off, and the church stood and clapped to lift him up. Later that week he called me, voice flat, then angry, then fired up to try again next Youth Sunday. He said the youth pastor told him he could play the same song next time. Then he said his dad told him no. His mom wanted him to play. His dad said the answer was still no. My nephew asked if I knew what to do because every talk at home turned into an argument. I'm not a Christian anymore, but I grew up in church, and I pictured a kid walking back on stage and doing the thing he couldn't do. I told him I saw a chance for him to get back up. He said he just wanted one more try. I said I'd call my brother to understand. I called my brother and asked why he said no when the youth pastor said yes. He told me it wouldn't be about God anymore. His voice was calm, but hard. He said if our nephew wanted redemption, he should find it outside church, like a recital. I said his kid was motivated and he could be proud of that. He said church wasn't the place for a second chance. I said church was literally about second chances. I said other kids might watch his son and feel brave. He said I didn't understand and that it wasn't my business. I said it felt wild that I had to beg him to support his own kid. He said he would be informing the youth pastor and stood firm. I stared at the wall and counted to 5. I hung up with my jaw tight and a sick feeling that this wasn't really about the song. My nephew called again. He said his dad still planned to tell the pastor no. He asked if I could talk to his dad one more time. I told him I'd think, then I sat with it. I kept thinking about confidence as something that grows when you risk failing again. I also didn't want to blow up their home. I paced in my kitchen with the phone in my hand. I took a breath and hit call. I called my brother back, but I started with an apology. I told him I overstepped by telling him how to handle his family. I said I should have kept my mouth shut. He said he appreciated the apology and had more to say. He said our nephew shouldn't run to other adults when a parent says no. He said every parent hates when a kid asks mom after dad already said no. He said allowing a second chance so soon teaches the wrong lesson. He wanted him to learn that you don't always get a redo in life. I told him church is a family, and families want you to stand up again. I said the youth pastor's invitation was part of that. I asked why, if it wasn't right, the pastor had offered. He paused, then told me what he hadn't said before. I could hear dishes clinking behind him. He said the standing ovation made him mad. He said his son didn't play a note and still got clapped for. He said it felt like a participation trophy, and people came over after service to encourage his son, and that embarrassed him. I said the ovation was adults trying to lift up a scared kid. He said encouragement isn't a consequence. He said consequences are what make lessons stick. He said being offered another shot a few days later isn't how the world works. He said he would talk to the youth pastor and shut it down. I felt heat rise in my face, and then I kept my voice even. I told him I still disagreed, but I would stop pushing. I asked if he'd at least get a second opinion from someone he respected at church before he called the pastor. He said there was no need. He thanked me for calling. He said his mind was made up. I said okay. We ended the call. I stared at my phone and pictured my nephew alone with his sheet music, running the same first bar that beat him. I thought about how a hard moment can either scare you off or give you a reason to train. I pictured him counting silently, pressing down, hearing the first clean note, and the room going quiet. I wanted that for him, not for applause, but to know he could finish what he started. But the decision wasn't mine. I called my nephew back that evening. He picked up on the first ring. I told him I spoke to his dad and that I had apologized for stepping in. I told him his dad was still going to tell the youth pastor no. He went quiet. He said okay. Now my nephew is asking why I called his dad, and I'm hurting. Was I wrong?